but nothing surprises me at Rangers anymore, or it shouldn't. I first met Barry Ferguson when he was 16, and he was pushing a trolley full of first team's dirty training kit. One of the training kit was clean. We can work out whose kit that was. But through the laundry at Ibrox. And he said to me at that time, he said, I'll not be doing this for long, you know. And I remember thinking, well, if you're as good as your brother, you've got a real chance. Now, I saw him move quickly into the first team. He became captain at 21, top player. But as well as being having great ability, he also was a battler and such an aggression about him and a will to win. And it makes me wonder, when you look at the Rangers players and a group of lads who don't necessarily get it as much as Barry Ferguson did, is it possible for him to transmit that to a group of players that doesn't always look up for the battle in Scottish football?
Well, it's an interesting one, David. In answer to the question, you would suggest that he clearly will have a better opportunity of doing it than somebody like perhaps Philippe Clement or even Michael Beale or people like that, who, generally speaking, and nor should they, know the history of the club, certainly to the extent that Barry Ferguson does. So in answer to your question, you would think it would become easier. However, I look at the team and I look at the players right now, and Europe aside, they look damaged, mate. You know, they look damaged, they look low in confidence, they look, for want of a better description, they're looking all over the place, particularly the last two home games and some of their away performances domestically. So getting them to understand what the club's all about and getting them to play might be two different things, David. I mean, obviously I'm very, very hopeful and I wish the boys all the best, but I think it's a big task they've got.
I do remember in similar circumstances when Paul Le Guen had been in charge of Rangers, he didn't get it. Their away record was poor, but their home record was poor as well. They didn't play at a pace and with an aggression that suited Scottish football and suited the daily challenge, the weekly challenge that faces Rangers and Celtic too, for that matter. But you and Walter went in there and turned things around very, very quickly. Now, you're a level of players that was better than the group at the moment. But do you think he can go in and turn it around quickly by getting a reaction from the players? Can he make them feel better about themselves? And here's the thing, one of the key questions for me. Will the players, as Barry was when Le Guen went, will the players be glad to see the back of Clement, do you think?
Well, that's something I can't answer effectively, David, because I don't know what was going on behind the scenes, right? You get feeling in dressing rooms, and Troy will know, been in many a dressing room where the manager doesn't see eye to eye with the players, and the players have had enough of the manager, and player power, whether we like it or not, is as strong now as it's ever been. Because back in Fergie's day, for example, the players would go. Nowadays, it's the coach and the manager. So that's the biggest difference. 9 times out of I'm saying 9 times out of 10, but when a new manager goes into a club,
you get a spike, don't you?
Correct. You get a reaction, don't you, Troy? So I would imagine I'll be disappointed if you don't get a reaction of some description. I really would be surprised, David.
But, David, I just think he will be able to get a short-term spike, but I'm a believer of you are who you are, so it doesn't matter who the manager is. You'll get that spike because he'll change the training to very simplistic things, a bit of shape, bit of fun, rondos and small-sided games. But what will happen over the course of time is those players will revert back to type. They will do, and they'll just go back to what they are. And I don't mean this disrespectfully. I watched them against Man United; they were very good. Yeah. I was there live, and the Rangers fans were excellent. I thought on the night. I know there was a bit of trouble, but I didn't see it. I saw really good fans and really nice people. I just think the reason you're losing to St Mirren and teams like that is because that's who you are. Yeah, that's who you are. They're just not good enough at the moment. And I think with the little change, again, Ali, you know this better than anybody, but with the little change, it'll get a little spike. It'll keep the fans happy. They've just had chat that maybe the ownership model is going to change. These are all good things, but it needs a real big reset in summer.
I think Troy's right, David. Absolutely spot on in the respect that effectively what we're saying is a leopard doesn't really change its spots. You might get a wee reaction, in a couple of games or whatever it may be, but generally speaking, I look at the team and I said yesterday, David, there's weak. I look at that team and I look for men. You know, and you know what I mean by men. I'm talking about guys that will take responsibility. Guys that will
leaders.
Leaders. Grab a game by the scruff of the neck, and there's not any. And
it's a nice team.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. But the problem is, when nice teams, they're nice to play against.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, right now, David, you're playing against Rangers. The first thing you do, you play at least one big man right up through the middle, maybe even two.
Yeah.
And you get the ball forward and you mess them about. That's exactly what you would do. So they've got to get rid of that. They're too nice to play against, and I don't know, off the park as well. I need to reserve judgment. I've got to say, I need to reserve judgment. I know you've got to give people time. I think the best thing that the Rangers fans are hoping for, David, in all honesty, is that some form of takeover can take place where, you know, there's finance put into the club of some description. That's where I'm on it, mate.
Yeah, and it's not just finance. They need good governance from top to bottom.
100%, mate.
Everything at Rangers at the moment, when you look at it, doesn't work. And so it needs that change. And in that sense, Barry is coming into a tempest in many ways. However, if he can steady things, we never know what might happen. I remember many years ago in the Sky studio, Walter Smith, your old gaffer, kindly agreed to come in and sit with me, and Neil McCann, who's now in that management structure, in the studio. And I asked him outright, I said, who should be the next Rangers manager? And he said, Derek McInnes. He didn't pause for thought. Yeah. Ironically, coincidentally, Rangers play Kilmarnock tomorrow night with Derek McInnes now in charge there. I know it's been a tough season for him. 2 questions. Will Barry Ferguson be thinking he is in this for the long term? He can make the job his own. And will Derek McInnes be thinking the same?
Barry's got to be thinking that. And so's Derek, to tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. Barry's got to be thinking that. But I don't know what the discussion Barry's had with the chief executive, is it Patrick Stewart? I don't know what conversation he's had, but I would be surprised, very surprised, if the conversation was, you're getting it for 15 games and that's it. I'd be very surprised, because you've got to keep the door open to some extent.
Would you be surprised if he wouldn't take it for that either, would he? Because that would have been straight out the door. That's what you're hearing. I think he's going in with an opportunity, thinking what we're thinking. If I do well, the new ownership, maybe get to spend a bit of money, I could be here for 3 or 4 years.
So getting back to your question about Derek as well, Derek's a fine manager, absolutely fine manager. Nothing but total respect for Derek, and he does a great job wherever he's been. And and I think if it had not been just for 15 games, I think Derek would have come into the equation. Obviously, the 15 games is, but you never know. If at the end of the 15 games, I think Derek's name would still get mentioned in dispatches for the job. I don't think there's any doubt, because I think he deserves to be talked about. Absolutely deserves to be spoken about. But it's going to be an interesting period coming up, David. I think it's really listening to all the fans and up and down the country. You know, they're surprised as well. Let's not beat about the bush. They're absolutely surprised. But that's not to say we can't wish the boys all the best and get behind them.
Yeah, it certainly is a fascinating period for Rangers. There's no doubt about that. I do feel sorry for Barry Ferguson to an extent, in that, like you, when you took over as Rangers manager, the club was in chaos. Yeah. There is possibly a way out for Rangers at the moment. But ultimately, the first thing they wanted to do is calm everybody down. But when there's so much chaos surrounding about you, how difficult is it to manage a team, Ali? And say, from your experience of good times and bad times at Rangers.
Oh, well, I think that the old chairman, David Murray, hit the nail on the head with me. I still speak to him. I speak to him regular. And he said to me, the bottom line is, he said, we effectively don't know if you can manage, but we do know you can crisis manage. And that was spot on at the time. And that was a reasonable assessment. I think the most important thing is, the one thing that we don't want to see, and I really, really mean this, we don't want to see Barry Ferguson having to crisis manage, because that's not a place you want to go, and it's not a place you want to be, David. I can assure you that, and I don't think that will happen. I certainly don't think that will happen, but it can happen. Listen, my friend, lovely to talk to you this morning. I know this will be another topic that we'll be carrying on this morning. You take care, David. Thanks for your time.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.